I mean, that might be a suitable setup for the next question, which is from Jonathan Abbasi, who asks, do you see genre film finding their way into the Oscars or other major awards? I mean, it's like scandalous how few times. Way back in the day, Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T., these movies were up for Oscars. You know, you had The Fugitive and the Lord of the Rings movies, and then crickets. You know, it's like I mean, maybe Gravity, but we're debating whether Gravity fits some sort of genre box. You know, it's like why is it that this kind of like everything we're discussing doesn't get the respect? Maybe this is a 30-minute conversation.
Well, I think it maybe speaks to what I was saying earlier about what people do in Hollywood and what they think they do or want to do. And, you know, the Academy takes itself very seriously. I mean, Harrison Ford has been trying to been an advocate for having stunts be, having stunt work be an Oscar, an Academy category. And, you know, they just are very stubborn and it's a very old institution, and it's very stuck in its ways. And they shut out comedies. I mean, forget even genre films. I mean, when was the last time a comedy, how often anyways, a comedy won Best Picture? And it's very short-sighted in my view, particularly because the whole point of the Academy was to, advance the sort of perception of Hollywood. It sort of was a big selling tool, essentially, back when it was created. And now, I don't know. It says more about the Academy, I think, than it does about the kind of movies that are out there. Because obviously there's some really excellent films that the Academy members don't really necessarily think are really worthwhile.
I think in some ways it goes back to the definition of genre. Like, war movies have won. I mean, I look at like The Exorcist, I look at Silence of the Lambs, I look at Rosemary's Baby, those kind of movies. I don't know if Rosemary's Baby got a nomination. I believe it did. And they've gotten nominations. I qualify those in the horror genre, just elevated filmmaking behind it. The story is sort of. So I think it can eke by. I think it's harder. It's probably harder because I think you're right, they do take themselves incredibly seriously, and it has to have an art sort of thing to it for them to, I was reading a thing about how if your movie makes too much money, it can actually, will it hurt or help your Oscar chances? I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it.
I mean, I think even though the Oscars represent kind of like a jury of your peers, it's it's supposed to be the creme de la creme of the Academy, but we all know, or you should know if you don't, that the majority of the Academy seems to have been kind of like grandfathered in during days when they were desperate for members and you almost didn't need to have done anything. Now it's like you can have an Oscar and still have to wait years to be invited in. They've gotten much more rigorous, but it's going to take, another decade and a half for those spoil sports to die off, basically, and make the Oscars mean what you want them to mean, which is you want them to what we all want is for them to validate our taste to a certain extent, and right. I mean,
stolen so much of their thunder.
Or there are other award shows. The Golden Globes has different problems, we could say, but it's like what 80 junket attending buffet grazers think are the best movies of the year, but somehow they're more in touch with kind of like the more in touch with the public. But it's like but in it's almost like I love that critics are out there recognizing these. I mean, the Fast and the Furious sequel that came out this summer got raves. It's like there are people who are kind of like calling these like they see them, and it's like and on the critical front, I mean, it's like especially among genre, it's like healthier than ever online. There's just discussion. People who make them, people who see them, are getting involved in. There's this democratization where it's like you can kind of you can tune out the people who are kind of irrelevant and pick up on the people who are really recognizing the great work, and you kind of know who to trust.